Occasionally my buddies and I go out to the Santa Monica Pier right to the end to do some fishing. So the morning we got there about a week ago, the water was kind of strangely agitated. It just looked different. And I think it was because it was low tide and there's a reef out there beyond the end of the pier. You could sometimes see the water crashing over the rocks to the north of the pier, but because the water, I guess the water level was pretty low during this low tide, it revealed this whole line of reef section here, and you almost had like shore break out there beyond the pier, which was kind of strange to see. And so the waves were kind of crashing differently, and so we saw some rocks out there that we'd never seen before. So here's one that I flew right over in an area that we didn't know had such a reef that was so close to the surface, which is kind of strange to see because we'd never seen it before. And it kind of explained why the water underneath the pier was really strangely agitated. You'll see it in this next shot here. It was kind of like almost like a rushing river. It was really strange. So after videoing that, I went down towards Venice, south of the pier, to see if I could find some surfers. And sure enough, it was breaking pretty well over there. Low tide sometimes is a good time to surf, and evidently there were lots of surfers out there who had the same idea, and the waves were pretty good. This area between Venice and Santa Monica is a really good surf spot. We usually see surfers out there, and then once you get closer to the pier, you get fewer. But this area is a pretty good spot. It looked like there was a surf camp going out there. There's some people out there with, looked like some instructors. And so I tried to get some shots. I learned that it's kind of hard to get footage of people surfing. And I was trying to experiment where to put the camera. And I caught a few, catching some waves. Not very close up, so it's not really a video that's any good. But the funny thing was, I was kind of panning around looking out towards the ocean, and I spotted some people swimming, and just a few, and I see them there, and I said that's kind of interesting. I sometimes see open water swimmers out there, but this is the first time I saw a huge group of them all doing it at the same time. So I don't know if it was a race or some training or it was a club, but there were a ton of people out there, and I didn't realize it until I panned the camera up and I saw some agitation out there in the distance and flew towards it. And sure enough, there were dozens of swimmers all swimming at the same time out there, and kind of strangely going in different directions. So you had some that were going clockwise. It looked like most of them were going clockwise, but you had a couple that were going the opposite direction. And it was kind of funny because I got some footage here of two swimmers that were kind of like swimming towards each other, and neither of them wanted to change their heading, and they kind of like went over each other. It was sort of funny. Maybe they couldn't see each other, who knows, but there's a whole bunch, huge group there. Kind of reminded me of that scene in Titanic after the ship sank and you had all these people in the water. It just kind of reminded me of that. But this is quite far offshore. It's quite a ways from the shore break. So these folks are definitely in open water, and so this is where I saw the two swimmers kind of crash each other. I'm flying south. You can see very faintly in the distance, that's the Venice Pier. So they have to swim around these buoys here, and this guy here that's making his turn is going to almost crash into a guy going in the opposite direction. So he's kind of cruising along on his heading, and then you've got, I guess there are some people going the other way, who knows, but these two right here, it's kind of like with all that open water, they practically running into each other. It was a beautiful day. The fish weren't really biting. I think I caught one fish. The thing about Venice Pier is if you catch fish, pretty much everything you catch you have to throw back. If it's not the right size, you got to throw it back, but there's a board up there with the list of species that if you catch them and if they're big enough to keep, you shouldn't eat them because they're of a mercury poison, I guess. it's pretty unfortunate that the water is so polluted that you can't catch the fish or eat the fish that you pull out. Most of the time we catch mackerel, which aren't good eating, or smelt. And it's just kind of fun to go out there and fish. I mean, it's just, fishing is fun. It's a exercise in patience, and sometimes we go out there and we catch a lot, and sometimes we don't catch any. These folks are swimming out there, and there's wildlife and sea creatures everywhere, and in these waters. The beach in Venice and Santa Monica has been cleaned up quite a bit as of late, which is nice, so people can go out there and enjoy it. It's not one of my favorite beaches to boogie board or swim, but it's fun. We usually go to this pier. So on my way back, I wanted to see if I can get some footage of some surfers, and it's kind of hard to do. It's a lot harder. This guy here gives us a lesson on how to duck dive under waves, does a really good job. And then I decided, well, maybe I should point my camera in the other direction, so I tried that. So I caught this guy here, and he's got a wave coming. So I'm saying, wait for it, wait for it. I'm going to get some good footage and back the camera up a little bit. But, no, he didn't kick his feet, so he didn't catch it. Oh well. That kind of footage, I guess, it's a lot harder than it looks to get. So, back to the pier, and I was a little nervous to land this thing using the return to home, so I decided to just manually land it, and it was still a little disconcerting because I just had that small little walkway to bring it over. But this drone is so stable and so easy to fly. It was very simple to just fly to this one spot here for a nice soft landing. So another great adventure with my DJI Mavic Air 2. Great day at Santa Monica.